Here's your smart fact of the day. Imagine having a designation called Senior Maverick. Well, Kevin Kelly had that back in 2008, and he is the proponent of something called 1,000 True Fans. So you can have an unspectacular but fruitful career if you have 1,000 true fans who are willing to pay you a certain amount of money to make sure that you can continue doing your work. That's the 1,000 True Fans theory, done by Wired Magazine's senior maverick, Kevin Kelly. Let's explore this concept in Smarter With Sid's episode this time round, figure out what the advantages of thinking like this are, and maybe even one big disadvantage and how to overcome that. Let's go. Now, on Smarter With Sid, what we try to do is figure out a new concept or theory that might help us, or at least some of us, actually improve something in life. And one of the theories or concepts that I came across, which was quite intriguing, shout out to Professor Ashish Kulkarni for showing it to me. Thank you, Ashish. I think it's a very interesting sort of theory. It's called 1,000 True Fans. 1,000 True Fans. Let's explore the concept of the background to. Let's understand the limitations of that theory, the advantages of it, and any takeaways if we can have it from there. But of course, first, the theory. What is this theory? So it says that you don't need to be spectacularly successful, especially if you're in the creative field, like you're an artist, you're a designer, you're a painter, you're a writer, you're a content creator, and you're trying to figure out, how do I make money out of the skill that I've got, the art that I've got, whatever it may be. And I think the core aspect is to figure out something very critical, according to Kevin Kelly. It is not to find out, how do I reach the maximum number of people, or, make this into a mega $1 million business or whatever it is, but just to scale it down to 1,000 true fans of you, who will pay you enough money for you to sustain yourself. So basically what he says is, if you can make $100 profit from 1,000 true fans, you have a fairly decent lifestyle. And, so the theory goes. Now, there are detractors of this theory. They have pointed out certain issues with it. So let's look at those issues while, we are discussing the theory. The first thing is, the $100,000 amount is the gross income and doesn't take expenses into account. So, for any creative endeavor, expenses can be substantial, and we are going to get a little bit more into the weeds with this one specific kind of expense. Second is, even if you reach the magic 1,000 fan number, doesn't mean that you will, each will spend $100 on you, right? So some fans might spend 500, some fans might spend only $20, whatever it may be, right? So maybe on an average, he's looking at it, but it also depends upon your output. So there are many factors involved. And the good bit is, it's quite likely that, the advantages is that it's quite likely that you don't require only one country. So I'm talking in dollars. So if you were in the US and you were doing the stuff in dollars, you don't need the US only. You can go to India, you can go to the UK, you can go wherever the fans may be. So if you're a major death metal, rock artist in the making, you can create your music and you can sell it across the world and get paid. But of course, this does involve, all the international laws and taxes and shipping and whatever it may be, right? Also, you can expect some fans not to stay your fans. They might evolve beyond your art. They might not like you anymore, whatever. But hopefully, some new people might come in and actually be with you. And like your art. So there might be some churn, but that churn might be taken care of. Now, also, there's competition. Even if you may be in what they call the long tail, C.K. Prahlad's long tail, right? There's still competition. So there'll be still people who are competing for the same 1,000 true fans as you are. And it could essentially end up being a bloodbath even there, right? So those are the detractors. They've got some serious points to consider, but the beauty of the theory is the takeaway, at least the positive takeaway for me, is that while there might be a lot of issues with it, there might be a lot of reasons why it may not work, it gives you a certain kind of focus, and the focus also gives it a certain kind of reality. So when I'm dreaming and I'm dreaming for the moon, right, sometimes it gets overwhelming. It kind of gives you a sort of an imposter syndrome. You figure out very quickly that it's quite likely that it's not going to work out for you, or whatever. Oh, you're not that lucky, etc. Or it's just not possible, and you may get dismayed by the failure. But 1,000 true fans allows you to focus on exactly that. It becomes a very clear metric. Now it could be 2,000 if you're a co-partner. If you have a co-partner, it could be 300 if you're selling it at whatever you're selling at more. But to have a number which is very manageable and which is very understandable, very real, very visceral, is something that can actually make a difference to whether you succeed in it or not. And I think that's the beauty of Kevin Kelly's theory. But unfortunately, it perhaps is still a theory. I don't know how many people have literally followed the 1,000 true fans thing. In fact, Kevin Kelly has posted on his blog a contrary opinion, saying, there's a musician. I don't know what happened to the experiment, but he did say that there's a guy who says that unless and until you already have a fan base, you're not necessarily going to get 1,000 true fans in a hurry. And while it's very brave and good of Kevin Kelly to put out the counter argument over there, it still is the core problem. What is the core problem to my mind? The core problem is, how do you get to 1,000 true fans as quickly as possible and in a way that helps them to be with you, retain them? So retention as well as acquisition still are critical questions, even if you reduce the numbers to 1,000 true fans. Because if let's assume 1,000 for the time being, and if let's assume that you're trying to get those, in order to get those, you will need to do some major level marketing, which means that if you are really lucky and have a fantastic conversion rate, maybe 10,000 people who follow you on social media, out of which 10% of them are your 1,000 true fans, that's still quite a big conversion rate, isn't it? And how are you going to get 10,000 people on social media? Well, that requires some level of marketing. Now, you might argue that, okay, I'll do it, I'll build it organically, but organic buildup of fans does require its own time. So if you're a struggling artist, my takeaway is, if you're a struggling artist, creator of any sort, I think you should stick to your day job till the time that you reach that number of 1,000 true fans, potentially people who can convert your life from being a corporate slave, perhaps, to somebody who is in the gig economy. Now, you might say, no, I don't want to do that. I want to give it my full attention and I want to do this. But then you make sure that you understand that you're not going to be a profitable creator of any note unless and until you have those 1,000 true fans. And that's going to take some time. So better have that sustainability. Now, when we are looking at sustainability and all of that, you need to then figure out, okay, what's my budget going to be like? How am I going to be creative when I'm still, maybe starving and the rest of it? There are some people who have done that beautifully, and that tribe is all the influencers out there. One of the most famous ones that I can think of is Baba Ramdev and Patanjali. Now, he's a celeb of sorts, and I'm not getting into the politics or whether I like him as a person, but he did build his fan base and much more than 1,000 true fans before he started monetizing it in a serious way with Patanjali products, right? So maybe what you should do is also build your fan base, understand that it's going to take some time, and that's the takeaway for you as a creator. Whether you want to remain employed or not is your call, but my suggestion, my recommendation would be to have a sustainable source of income till the time that you actually have that base. Now, where do you have that base? How do you have that base? It is something that you can't really figure out unless and until you try it. So there is some amount of risk involved, but till the time that risk is played out, 1,000 true fans remains a good model to consider to plan out your stuff. I hope you like this episode of mine of Smarter with Sid. Many more to come from where this came from. And like stuff like this, check out all the stuff IVM's got for you. And hey, if you like me, I'm the traveling professor. And if you're a true fan, do connect with me on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Cheers.